In the heart of the Amazon, the world's climate agenda faces perhaps its biggest test yet as the COP30 summit officially begins this week. A key issue is how to mobilize more money to support developing nations on the front lines of climate change, but also how to turn pledges into reality and get clearer commitments to phase out fossil fuels. Well, CNA senior correspondent Jack Board talks through what's at stake.
More than 18,000 kilometres from here, in a climate not unlike Singapore's, the Amazon rainforest will soon play host to crucial discussions about the future of the planet. Tens of thousands of politicians, policymakers, lobbyists and industry figures are set to descend on Belém, Brazil for COP30. The annual climate summit officially begins November 10th, and the stakes couldn't be higher.
Here are 5 key issues to pay attention to. First, it's a make or break year for national climate plans. By COP30, every country is supposed to have updated its 2035 emission goals, known as Nationally Determined Contributions, or NDCs. These pledges are meant to keep global warming well below 2 degrees Celsius. But most governments are well behind schedule, and just a handful submitted their plans on time. China, the world's biggest emitter, has promised its first economy-wide reduction target. Singapore and Cambodia were the first Southeast Asian nations to have updated their NDCs, followed recently by Malaysia, Indonesia and Brunei. The United States has withdrawn from the Paris Agreement again.
Under President Donald Trump, Washington formally notified its exit from the Paris Agreement in January, a process that will take effect after 1 year. That uncertainty looms large.
As the world's second largest polluter and biggest economy, America's retreat risks slowing down global action. Trump has dismissed climate change as
the greatest con job ever perpetrated on the world, in my opinion.
And he's rolled back major clean energy policies from the previous administration. Without the US at the table, some fear climate finance and global cooperation could falter, though others say it may free up space for progress. Third, the question of money.
Last year's summit in Baku set a new global finance target of at least $350 billion a year by 2035 and up to $1.3 trillion from all sources. These funds are meant to help developing countries adapt to the rising costs of climate change.
But there are growing doubts about how the money will actually flow and whether wealthy nations will meet their obligations. UN Climate Chief Simon Steele has called finance the #1 constraint holding back progress on climate adaptation.
The host nation wants to make the rainforest a centrepiece of these talks, highlighting forest-based economies, indigenous leadership and funding for local communities.
Deforestation in Brazil has fallen sharply under the current administration, but the country remains the world's biggest contributor to tropical forest loss. And new data from the University of Maryland shows the planet lost millions of hectares of rainforest in 2024, mostly to fire.
Lastly, carbon trading, one of the most technical but crucial pieces of the climate puzzle. After years of talks, COP29 finalised the rules for a new UN-backed global carbon market. Now comes the test. Can it work in practice?
The idea is simple. Big emitters can buy carbon credits from countries that protect forests or restore ecosystems, helping offset emissions. Pilot projects and regional deals are already underway. At COP30, negotiators will hammer out the final details before a UN-overseen market officially opens.
From forests to finance and from geopolitics to carbon markets, COP30 will test whether the Paris Agreement still has momentum or if global climate ambition is hanging by a thread. Jack Board, CNA, Singapore.